3 lessons that quite literally changed my life. And no, that's not an exaggeration. That's not clickbait. I'm going to be 100% honest and vulnerable with you. What I'm going to share with you in this episode really did change my life and leadership forever. These are lessons that I learned in the first decade of my leadership journey, and they continue to this day to anchor me. Some of these lessons I learned the hard way, and I don't want you to have to go through that. I don't know what your definition of success is, but these lessons helped me reach the level of success I was looking for. But beyond that, these lessons didn't just help me build a successful life. They helped me build a meaningful one. Before we jump in, I need to preface this episode by saying just a few things. First, if you're new to this leadership community, I just want to say a big welcome. Let me tell you what we do here. Every week, I release new leadership content. It's grounded in fresh research, and it's designed to encourage and motivate you to keep fighting the good fight. You'll quickly realize that I say that phrase every week, and that's because it's the motto of this community. Leadership is hard, but this community exists to serve you and hopefully make it just a little easier so that you can keep fighting the good fight day after day, week after week. And the second thing is that you should know that I'm a man of faith. In fact, I'm a pastor. I don't push my faith much in this community. You'll get more of that from my socials, but it is the foundation of my life and it informs my leadership. Now, I know many of you wouldn't consider yourself particularly religious. You're here for leadership research and encouragement. And trust me, I'm not here to give a sermon, but I want you to know that I'll be putting the pastor hat on just a little more today than I normally do, because when I say life-changing, I really do mean life-changing. These aren't surface level lessons. And then lastly, I want to say that every lesson we're going to talk about today lays the foundation for the next lesson. And so they really work together. So make sure to hang with me until the end, because I think that's where I think it's all going to come together and really serve you the most. All right, let's get into it. Let's talk about lesson 1. You know, someone recently said to me, Zach, you seem really disciplined. And I laughed and I said, actually, I'm not. People might look at my life and see the actions that I do consistently, and they might assume, okay, he's a disciplined person. Or people might look at my life and see evidence of success and assume that it was built through discipline. But whatever success I've had up to this point in my life, whether it be financially or relationally or vocationally or spiritually, it wasn't built through strong discipline. It was built by something more powerful than discipline, in my opinion. It was built through the power of accountability. And this is the first lesson I learned many, many years ago. Accountability is the secret weapon for life change. Accountability is your friend. Too many people out there are preaching that you just need more discipline. You know, discipline equals freedom. I'm here to tell you that I actually think accountability equals freedom. I believe that accountability is stronger than discipline. And let me tell you why. Because while discipline is all about drawing from your own internal strength, accountability is about drawing from the strength of others around you. And while discipline equals the strength of one, accountability equals the strength of many. Now, let me tell you how this works for me personally. I have accountability in just about every facet of my life. For instance, from the moment I wake up, the accountability starts. I wake up around 4:30 a.m. every morning for some quiet time that I spend in prayer and reading the Bible and other things. And then I go to the gym before my kids wake up. And that's like the only time of the day I can make it happen. And I learned that a long time ago. It's hard to get up that early, at least for me. Discipline isn't what gets me out of bed. It's accountability that does that. Years ago, I asked one of my buddies to hold me accountable to wake up early for the gym. I just started out as like, hey, I'm going to text you when I wake up. If you want to text me when you wake up, it's just, we send this simple flex emoji, if you know what I'm talking about. And then that quickly escalated into, hey, why wouldn't we just work out together? And then we invited more guys into that group. And all of a sudden it's become this really, really neat accountability group for waking up early and having quiet times and going to the gym and all that I've had for years now. And I have no intentions of letting that accountability out of my life. I value it so much. Another example is, as a pastor, I meet with a lot of married couples who are having, issues in their marriage because of financial problems is actually one of the main ones. And, as I start digging into it, particularly with the issue of financial problems, I usually find that they have separate finances. And not only is that crazy to me on a spiritual level, but it also means that there's zero financial accountability. My wife and I have shared finances, and everything I make financially, it's just, we have an understanding. It's not mine, it's ours. Everything she might make financially, it's not hers, it's ours. And so we do our budget together and we make money decisions together. And there aren't any separate accounts that we don't have access to. Everything is shared. And in biblical terms, it would be like we are one financially. But what else is actually happening? Accountability. Or apply this to parenting. I've asked seasoned parents who I respect tremendously, at least how they've parented, to observe my kids and my parenting and hold me accountable if they see anything that I should address. Sometimes I'll pick specific individuals to hold me accountable for specific goals that I've set for myself. Even just this past week, I went to the mountains just to have some time away to think of some really important things and pray through some really important things. And I asked one of my buddies to just, hey, here's what I'm going for. And I just be praying for me and also just like hold me accountable when I come back that we can have a conversation about how that went. I also have accountability software on all my devices because I don't want to be a man who watches porn or any type of vulgar content that I shouldn't be looking at. I also have a brick device that holds me accountable for not wasting time on time-wasting apps. I could go on and on and on. I have accountability in all sorts of little facets of my life. And let's be clear about something. And this is the headline of all this. Accountability is not weakness. Accountability is all about attacking weakness. It's about preparing the soil where discipline and transformation and integrity can be nurtured. It's about drawing from the strength of many rather than just depending on your own strength. And I want to encourage you to invite accountability into the areas of your life that you know aren't going well right now and just watch what happens. I think you're going to find that it's just so life-changing. I know I did. And it was one of the best lessons I ever learned. Okay, that's the first one. The second lesson takes everything to the next level. Let's transition to that. This is where things get really exciting. Let me start by asking you a question. Would you rather take a job that pays you $1 million today, right now, to work for the next 30 days? Or would you rather take a job that only pays you a penny today, but it will double your salary every day for the next 30 days? So you get $1 million today for 30 days of work, or pay you a penny today, but it doubles your salary every day for the next 30 days. What do you think? If you ever get this question in a job interview, take the penny one. You can thank me later. Let me show you why. So if you took the penny job, you'd have over 5.3 million at the end of the 30 days. What? Like, isn't that crazy? That's the power of compounding. Now, you may be familiar with compounding, and you may be familiar with Albert Einstein's classic quote where he says, compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world. And it's true. This is the second lesson. Understanding and applying the compound effect changed my life in leadership. I'll never forget when I was around 22 years old, I discovered that if I start putting $80 a month into retirement and averaged 12%, which is what I average, I would have over $1.7 million when I retire. What? Are you kidding me? That's just $20 a week. Like, that's not even one visit to Chipotle. But the compound effect isn't just about money. The compound effect applies to other areas of your life. For instance, what happens if you eat like crap just for one day? I mean, maybe you're going to have an intimate experience with your toilet the next day. But other than that, I mean, not a whole lot's going to change, right? But what if you eat like crap every day? Well, you're going to start feeling increasingly lethargic. After the first week, you might notice that your skin starts to look unhealthy. You get winded when you walk up the stairs. Physical activity starts to get harder and harder. You find that you can't sleep as well. And then you begin to notice changes in the mirror. And your confidence starts to dwindle. You find yourself underperforming at work. It starts to weigh on your mental health. Before you know it, you can find yourself in an urgent health crisis. And it snuck up on you because it wasn't from one big decision you made. It was from the thousands of little decisions you made that compounded over time. And the opposite is true. If you were to eat healthy day after day, right? You would see the exact opposite effect, but in the positive way. Apply this to parenting. How are your investments compounding for your children? Have you ever heard of generational sin? Sins that just keep getting passed down over and over again, and it just compounds, doesn't it? Unless we change our investment, right? I'll never forget when someone told me that my biggest contribution to the world might not be something I do, but someone I raise. I have 4 kids, and hopefully if I make the right parental investment, my children will have a good model to parent from as well, and a new generational cycle could start. You see, that's the compound effect, and it's critical in leadership. Leadership, as we've talked about in this community, is influence. And influence is built through compounding investments. It's when you show up day after day, follow through time after time, stay faithful to the mission year after year. Those are the building blocks of leadership. I think it was Bill Gates who said that most people overestimate what they can do in 1 year, and then they underestimate what they can do in 10 years. And I've also heard it phrased that people overestimate what they can do in the short term, but underestimate what God can do through a life of faithfulness. And that hit home for me. People, myself included, tend to want results, and they want them fast. They want the rapid growth, quick success, instant gratification. But great leaders learn a different lesson. It's the consistent actions compounding over time that lead to a great and meaningful life. You know, my grandfather just recently turned 90 years old. We had a big gathering where every single one of his children, every single one of his grandchildren, and great-grandchildren came to celebrate him. My grandfather is one of the best men that I will ever have the privilege of knowing. He's sharp as a tack. He's retired with financial stability. He can still do a 2.5-minute plank. But beyond all of that, he's a good man. And he loves God deeply. His legacy is rich and it's meaningful. I was sitting on the back porch with him over dinner and just listening as he was sharing stories. And I was so touched and moved how he still wears his wedding ring 14 years after the passing of my grandmother. And he'll still choke up and get teary-eyed when he thinks of her and talks about her. And, you know, he was just talking about his faith and dependence on God through her slow decline. She had Alzheimer's. And my grandfather was so faithful to her and cared for her so tenderly. And he never complained about it. You know, he did it with joy. He did it with honor. The amount of respect and love that his family has for him, that people around him have for him, none of it was created by doing some specific thing. He did thousands of things over his entire life that compounded to the legacy that he already has. And he's still not done. He continues to invest with each and every day he's given, and it's inspiring. But you know, I know plenty of older individuals who have the exact opposite compound effect. They become increasingly nasty and bitter and selfish and mean over time. And this is the lesson. Your actions compound over time and shape your legacy. So ask yourself, are you seeing evidence of compounding in your life? Is it the good kind or is it the not so good kind? If you want to leverage the power of compounding in your life, it's actually pretty easy. You just start. We're only talking about just one tiny little action at a time. You don't need to climb the mountain all at once. It's just one baby step at a time. And before you know it, you can look back and be shocked and see how all of those little steps along the way led you to something amazing and meaningful. And it's all about starting small, never giving up. You keep fighting the good fight day after day. And while that might seem like a good place to end things, we have one final lesson, and this might be the most important one. One of my favorite games is Monopoly. And I played it as a kid. I play it with my kids now. And I remember when I was a kid, the worst part of the game was when it was done and you had to clean it up. And that's the thing. Eventually, after the game is over, it all has to go back in the box. John Ortberg wrote a book on this. He writes, "You don't get to keep one token, one chip, one game card. In the end, the spoils of the game add up to nothing." And in the same way, winning the game of life on earth is a temporary victory. I think that's true. When it comes to our lives, it all goes back in the box. As a Christian, I believe that this life isn't all that there is. I believe that God has prepared a future beyond this life. But it still raises the question, doesn't it? What is the point of it all? Like, why would God put these things in front of us to manage if we can't even take them with us? It's a life test. It's about being faithful to God with everything he has given to us and living our lives with an eternity mindset. The Bible says these trials will show that your faith is genuine. It's being tested as fire tests and purifies gold, though your faith is far more precious than mere gold. So when your faith remains strong through many trials, it will bring you much praise and glory and honor on the day when Jesus Christ is revealed to the whole world. The reward for trusting him will be the salvation of your souls. In other words, it all goes back in the box. And when it does, will you be happy with how you invested your life? Or did you make it all about the game, the box, and never think about what happens when the game is over? The reason I invite accountability into my life is because the stakes are high and I need help. The reason I leverage the power of compounding in my life is because I want to make the most of my life. I want to be wealthy in all the right ways and all the meaningful ways. And where I make those investments to compound has everything to do with the reality that it all goes back in the box. I don't want my life to be all about material things that are inevitably going to wither. I want to make my life about serving and loving people and investing in them. And ultimately, I'm accountable before my God. The end of my life, he's either going to say, okay, you made it all about the box, or he's going to say, well done, my good and faithful servant. So do you see why these lessons changed my life? Are they going to change yours? I hope so. I hope so. But there's a problem with all of this. It's a problem that can undermine your life, making all of this feel impossible. And it's a problem that can hold you back from the life change that you're hoping for. It can leave you feeling stuck and stagnant. But if you can address that problem, you can really experience some incredible change in your life and leadership. If you're curious what I'm talking about, I encourage you to go check out this episode that should pop up right here. I'll also put it in the description for you. It's where I break down all of this for you, and I give you the steps that you need to really break free and get traction. It's a really good conversation. I'll see you over there.